UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Erceg's coming up this weekend. Today I'm going to go over my predictions and break down the whole entire card. I did really well last weekend, specifically in the live betting category. I mean, I don't think I missed a bet last weekend. I'm serious. I will be going live this weekend, hopefully, for the Fight Companion, and I'm going to focus more on live betting because I did a really, really good job last week. Like, very, very good. But anyways, we got Moreno versus Erceg. Some things to take in note. This is at elevation, so automatically, guys, I've had some issues kind of figuring out the elevation in the past. I tried to incorporate some of the factors of elevation, right, in my breakdown or in my film and stuff. But it's still, at the end of the day, I'm not going to play the card like a lot at all because it's so unpredictable at times. But overall, man, I think I did a good job here, but we'll hop right into it. The first fight, a little bit of a short notice one here. I still can't open it, okay? Marquel Mederos taking on Austin Hubbard. Oh, my goodness. I want to pick Austin Hubbard because I do think he is a guy who's going to have the cardio advantage in this fight, and I do believe that. Austin Hubbard's very weird because he's a zombie, man. He'll just walk forward, eat shots, and his striking looks good sometimes, but other times it doesn't look great. I know he's got a win over Michael Figlak in his second run in the UFC. I didn't think he won that fight, so I think he's won none of his fights. But Austin Hubbard's got good cardio, but he's a little bit of a zombie. Now, if he's able to, endure all of this damage from Marquel Mederos and kind of, be able to survive in the third, and maybe he can have some success there. But I think that, Austin Hubbard's got to get this fight to the mat, and I don't know if he's going to be able to. I actually think that when you go and watch Marquel Mederos, you will see him wrestle a lot more than expected. He's a bit of a fighter to me that I don't really know too much about because even when I watch him, he trains at Factory X. He kind of reminds me of a Yusuf Zalal, but he's not nearly as good as him. But he has the same kind of movements, but he doesn't pop and move out of the way. He kind of is willing to exchange in that pocket area. And he's a decent grappler. I don't know how good of a grappler he is, really. He's got no submissions on his record, but you'll see him on the regional scene attempt, submissions, and he looks like he's pretty solid on the mat. I actually think that I might be looking at him to get a submission here. I know the odds are going to be nutty, but also another thing about, elevation fighting, people are going to tap to submissions or go out quicker just because it's at elevation. And if you look at, the previous 5 cards that have been at elevation, you're going to see a higher rate in submissions, and that's something I have been, incorporating into my film this week, and something that I'm going to be doing for my bets. I'm going to be betting a lot of people to get submissions or fight to end by submission. This is probably one of them, and it's just because that squeeze is going to, make people tap faster. Of course, it doesn't work for leg locks or arm bars or Kimuras or whatever, only blood chokes, but anyways, I'm going with Marquel Mederos. I'm going to go by a submission, man. Cheeky submission. Very, long shot a little bit, but we'll go with that. And we'll move on to the next one. Jamall Emmers, Gabriel, Miranda. Oh, my goodness. Jamall Emmers is minus 312. I feel like that's the right number, and it's just because Gabriel Miranda, I'll give him some credit. He's got some ways that he'll try to get you to the mat, but his wrestling is absolutely not going to be enough to get Jamall Emmers down. Jamall Emmers is a very good defensive wrestler. He's got really good hips, and only guy I've seen been able to submit him was who was it? Pat Sabatini, but that wasn't even Pat Sabatini taking him down. Jamall Emmers hurt him, jumped on top, and Pat Sabatini submitted him from the bottom. And Pat Sabatini is a fantastic grappler, but he's not as one-dimensional as Gabriel Miranda is, right? Pat Sabatini will entertain the stand-up for moments, and he is very chinny. But Gabriel Miranda, he's going to look to take you down every single second, and his striking is not great. I will give him some credit. He tries to pressure. He tries to put you on the back foot. It doesn't work, man. And I think that Emmers, his footwork is going to be too much for Miranda, especially when Miranda's trying to pressure. I feel like Emmers is going to step off an angle and, pop him with that long right hand he's got. I like Emmers' athleticism. He's a solid enough defensive grappler for me not to get worried about him getting submitted. Obviously, Miranda can submit anybody, but I'm going to trust in Jamall Emmers not to entertain the ground game with Gabriel Miranda. And if it's on the feet, Emmers, he's got very good hands, very good straight shots, and he's dynamic and explosive. I expect him to find the finish in the first round, to be honest with you. I think he knocks Gabriel Miranda out in the first. Also, Gabriel Miranda, he, I don't even know how to say it. He's kind of a butt scooter a little bit, but the one thing I did want to mention was the way that he kind of gets you to the ground. He'll just pull guard randomly, and people kind of fall into that. I'm probably going to stay away from this fight. I'm just be honest with you. I can't do it, man. Move on to the next one. Rafa Garcia versus Vinc Pichel. 500 on Rafa Garcia. This is probably my lock of the night. I don't see Rafa Garcia losing this. And when I remember Rafa Garcia, he's kind of this guy who a little bit mediocre on the feet, a little bit of wrestling involved in this game, but he's not that good. But I really didn't remember how good his pace, his cardio, his endurance is, and he's only gonna do better at elevation because of that. And I think he finds the finish over Vinc Pichel, who is 42 years old. He just won't be able to keep up with him, right? Rafa Garcia's going to be pushing the pace constantly, and Vinc Pichel won't be able to do anything, I feel like. Maybe a Hail Mary submission from his back, but even at that, I just don't see it. Rafa Garcia, defensively sound. He's got a nice jab, and like I said, it's just that pressure, the durability. He's got great durability, and he'll just push you, man, and I don't see Vinc Pichel keeping up whatsoever. I would imagine by the end of the second round, Rafa Garcia will have him out of there. I'll say by a submission. I'm going to go with Rafa Garcia. I think he wins this fight relatively easily. So Rafa Garcia is probably a guy that I don't think, will lose. Even at minus 500, I kind of feel like it's playable. But we'll see what happens. And we'll move on to the next one, which is going to be the only WMMA fight here. Loopy Godinez versus Julia Polastri. Let's go with Loopy. And we'll move on. Christian Rodriguez, Melquizael, Costa. Oh my goodness. You're looking at close line here. I do kind of think that this should be closer to a pick'em, but I am going to go with Christian Rodriguez. I've had a lot of hesitation on this fight. And there's multiple reasons for that. And I think that number one is going to be that I just don't know if C-Rod's really a featherweight. He just doesn't look like a featherweight. He looks like a bantamweight. And, he's missed weight a couple times at bantamweight, and he can't make the weight, I guess. But I just don't know if he's a featherweight. And I think that's going to cause some issues in some matchups and maybe in this matchup. But C-Rod, man, what he does is he just pressures you, just throws hands. But ultimately, I think that what's going to win him this fight is his wrestling, his top game, his grappling. And the reason I kind of say I'm a little bit nervous is because Melquizael Costa, if he's able to reverse, throw up a triangle or anything like that, we don't know how fast that choke's going to get sunk in, right? And how if C-Rod will be able to defend it before tapping or whatever it is. And that makes me a little bit nervous. But I think most of the winning moments of this fight for Christian Rodriguez will be on top control. Melquizael Costa likes to kick a lot. He ain't a bad fighter. He's a strong, pretty good grappler himself, but there are times where he's getting held on his back, and I know Thiago Moises was doing it to him. But Shailene Nuerdanbieke, that's a fight that I rewatched again, which I had watched before the Feely fight, of course. And I mean, for multiple rounds, I feel like at least 7 minutes, Melquizael Costa was getting held on his back, and I know C-Rod probably doesn't have the top pressure that Shailene Nuerdanbieke has, but I still think that C-Rod's a good enough grappler to hold Melquizael Costa down for good amounts of time. It's just going to be about C-Rod getting himself into that pocket, establishing his jab, and I think it might be a little bit hairy because what Melquizael Costa is doing, he's kicking you, and then once you kind of get into that pocket, he's going to grab the tie clinches. Something I like about his game. He likes to do that, and I think it's really effective. But I just think that C-Rod's going to take him down, control him from top position, maybe catch a kick and take him down. But I do think that the motor of C-Rod's a little bit better than Costa as well. Costa kind of gassed out. He gassed out pretty damn bad against Thiago Moises, and it was short notice, but still, I don't see C-Rod gassing out. And he maybe had some issues at bantamweight gassing out, but not here, not at featherweight. Went 3 full rounds, hard rounds against Austin Bashi, who was able to push a nasty pace, and C-Rod looked unbelievable. And that's really what I'm going off, is how good he looked in his last fight. I think this is a close fight, but I'm going to go with Christian Rodriguez to win this one by a decision. And we'll move on to the next one. Oh, my goodness. Jose Medina is back. He's taken on Ateba Gautier. Oh, my goodness. Interesting line movement here, I will say. I don't know what people are seeing in Jose Medina. He's very, very bad. He's really, really bad. He's pretty much a punching bag. Walks forward, eats shots, kind of taunts at you. And I don't know. I do kind of know why people are kind of, hinting that maybe Ateba's letting all of his shots go and he's not able to knock Jose Medina out. And I can kind of understand it, but it's still Jose Medina. You know what I mean? There's no chance I can even sit here and bet on Jose Medina or ever pick him against anybody. Honestly, I think that if you threw an amateur in there with Jose Medina, like a strong, amateur guy who just turned pro, who has a lot of experience, maybe an American guy, not like a Latin America guy. No offense to the Latin American fighters, but like Venezuela, Bolivia, I don't think there's much good MMA action coming out of there. Really, Brazil's the only one. But what I'm trying to say is I think that they could give Jose Medina a run for their money. Run for his money. He's not a good athlete. He doesn't have good wrestling. He kind of just eats shots. And Ateba Gautier, he's training, I believe, at a Manchester top team. And, man, this guy is a specimen, bro. I mean, you could just tell by the picture. He is massive. I don't even know how he makes 185 because, boy, oh, boy. He's 6'4" with an 81-inch reach. My goodness. This dude is a big old dude, and he's absolutely jacked. And he won his Contender Series fight. Some hairy moments there where he is getting taken down, but he didn't really get taken down by like a traditional takedown. He shot like he tried to knee the guy on the entry, and he just kind of missed it, and the guy took him down and held him on top for like the rest of the round. But then the next round, he comes out there and knocks the dude out. He's powerful, he's dynamic, and he's explosive, man. I believe he's from Cameroon, where Francis Ngannou is from, and he does remind me a little bit of Francis Ngannou, just because the style, the physique, and the power, man. This dude can really hit hard. He's damaging. But I do think he's a little bit more, when we first saw Francis, I want to say, he wasn't the most technical. I feel like Ateba's much more technical than when we first saw Francis. I think that, Ateba, he's got good kicks. He's got good hands. His technique looks very solid. It should be him all day. I don't... man, please don't just let this happen. Give me Ateba to win this one. Don't ruin a good, up-and-coming guy because Jose Medina beats him. I'm picking the right guy here. I'm going with Ateba, and we'll move on to the next one. Edgar Chairez versus CJ Vergara. I'm going to keep this simple, man. I don't get this line movement, because why is... Hold on. I think that Edgar Chairez should be much higher favorite than this. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think that CJ Vergara is absolutely awful. I've been very open saying that. I think CJ Vergara is really bad. He doesn't do anything good. He's not a good wrestler. He's not a good striker. He's a little bit fat. He's a little bit undersized for the division. And when you look at Edgar Chairez, they're 11-6 record, not the best, but he's losing to solid opponents. And Tatsuro Taira, Joshua Van, he is Clayton Carpenter, another guy he lost to. Edgar Chairez, he's actually pretty damn good, right? I think he's got great low kicks. He's got a good submission game, and his boxing's good, and he hits damn hard. I think that he finishes CJ Vergara in the first round. And if the fight gets extended, maybe CJ Vergara can have some moments because Edgar Chairez gassing is a little bit, not the best. But I still I don't think he'll be able to survive the first round. I think CJ Vergara is lucky to be having his contract. I think he'll be out of this, lose this fight and be out of the UFC. I think Edgar Chairez finishes him in the first. Club and sub or just a knockout. So we'll go with Edgar Chairez here. I'm interested to see the number on his first round finish, but probably something I'll be playing. We'll move on to the next one. Lazy boy. Ronaldo Rodriguez taking on Kelvin Borjas. Ronaldo Rodriguez climbing as a favorite a little bit. I'm actually going with the underdog here in Kelvin Borjas, and I'll tell you why. Now, when you think of Ronaldo Rodriguez, I mean, you look at his record. It's great. His record's great. But even in the UFC, he's kind of been wrestling a lot. Ode Osborne, he grappled a lot. Dennis Bonder, he grappled a lot. But when I watch his regional fight, regional tape, he never really wrestles. He doesn't wrestle all that often. And I don't know if it's something kind of new he's been doing or whatever it is. But you typically see him striking. I think for the most part, he is a striker. He's a solid grappler. He might be a better grappler than Borjas, but I don't think he's that much better of a grappler. And if we're going striker for striker, I think Borjas is actually the better striker. Now, you can see Kelvin Borjas, he's 0-2 in the UFC, but he's actually fought some damn good opponents. Alessandro Costa is probably going to be ranked in the near future here. And Joshua Van, where he had moments, he dropped Joshua Van, hit the mark on him a couple times, and Kelvin Borjas is actually a pretty good striker. He's going to have the reach advantage here, which I like. I kind of wish when I watched Kelvin Borjas, I wish he kicked a little bit more. He uses his hands a lot. He's got a nasty left hook. He's got a nasty left rip to the body he'll go to. But it's really that 1-2 that he likes, and it's powerful, man. The guy has a lot of finishes on his record for a flyweight. I feel like when you look at him, he's a little bit more technical than Ode Osborne. Maybe not as fast and dynamic as a guy like Ode, but he's a little bit more technical. He has good volume. I do worry about his gas tank a tiny bit because I think that Ronaldo Rodriguez does have a better gas tank. He's been fighting regional fights, in Mexico City, so he does have, experience fighting there. But I think that Kelvin Borjas is going to get the better of him on the feet, and I don't know if his wrestling's good enough to consistently take down Kelvin Borjas and hold him there. Borjas has been taken down. He had on his Contender Series fight, he was actually up against a dude who was like an Alessandro Pantoja training partner. He was really a big underdog against him and defended the takedowns well, put the pressure on him. Fought really well on the front foot. And I think that Kelvin Borjas is actually, a bit of an underrated fighter. And the odds makers are giving him respect. I definitely know that a lot of people are going to be, all over this. What the hell? How is he minus 140 and plus 145? That doesn't make sense. Oh, he's not. He's plus 120. So, yeah, they're going to give respect to Kelvin Borjas because Ronaldo Rodriguez is a big name, right? People love him. So the odds makers have been giving a good amount of respect to Borjas, and I think it's warranted because I think he's the better striker, and I think he can win this fight. I'm picking him to win a decision here. I think he wins the first and the second round. So we'll go with Kelvin Borjas, and move on to the next one. Simon Oliveira, David Martinez. Man, I really was close to actually picking Simon Oliveira, and it was almost just like a value kind of play. Because you can see, okay, he's dropped a lot because he was at, I feel like maybe not a lot, but he has dropped, right? He was at plus 300. He's at plus 285. I thought I saw David Martinez at minus 400. Yeah, he was. Okay, he was at minus 400. And that's what I was looking at. I was like, I don't think that necessarily is right. And I was close to picking Simon Oliveira because what this guy tries to do is he tries to get you to shoot a takedown. And the first thing I'll say about Simon Oliveira, he's one of the worst fighters I've ever seen when he's put on the back foot. Whenever this guy's on the back foot, he looks so uncomfortable. He'll bite at every single feint you throw. The reactions get big. So he's got to come forward in this fight. And I think that David Martinez is going to let him do that. David Martinez, he likes to be on the outside, kind of drag you into his counter shots. And he does a really good job at it. But I just worry a little bit because Simon Oliveira, he's reckless. And this is the kind of fight that I think that he might be able to do something stupid and get away with it. He's got a really good guillotine. That's where Simon Oliveira is the best. And he'll jump around and spin around and try to get you to shoot a takedown just so he can have the opportunity to guillotine you. That's the main thing with Simon Oliveira. On the feet, he's slow. He'll throw hard hooks. He's very wild. He's very wild. And as I kind of watch David Martinez a little bit more, he's got hard low kicks, very hard low kicks, a great low kicker. But he is trying to pull you into that counter strike, and he does a pretty damn good job. His hands are quick. He hits hard. Questionable takedown defense. We haven't seen, a good wrestler take him down. I don't think Simon Oliveira is a good wrestler, but he's probably the best he's ever fought in that sense because the way that Simon Oliveira is trying to take you down is kind of like dragging you down from the fence. And I haven't really seen David Martinez tested with a good grappler. So I don't necessarily know if I like this money line here. But I do think that his KO prop will be nice. Maybe not nice, but I think that's how he wins this fight. So I am going with David Martinez. I'm going by a KO, a counter shot, like a right hand or maybe a spinning wheel kick. He's got one of those. It was pretty nasty. But I was close to picking Saimon Oliveira. I can't lie to y'all. But I got to go with the better guy, and that's David Martinez. He's way better. So I will move on to the next one. Raul Rosas, Vince Morales. You know what? I don't know if there's a world I could pick Vince Morales here. I know that there's a lot of people on predicting fights. They like Vince Morales. They picked him versus Elijah Smith. He lost that fight. He did a pretty good job. I just can't pick him, man. I feel like he's coming back way too quick. He's a little bit on the older side. And I just think that Raul is going to make him work, minimum, right? I think that Raul is going to try to take him down, and Vince Morales will he has good takedown defense, but he'll engage in the grappling. That's pretty much all Raul will want to do. He's got active hips, he's got an active guard, and he'll just sweep you and just make you work. And I just feel like that's how this fight's going to go. Raul Rosas is just going to make Vince Morales just work his ass off so much that by whatever time Vince Morales is going to be tired from just scrambling. And I kind of hope that Raul does that. I don't want him approaching this fight like he did in his last fight with the Ricci lane, kind of just striking at range. I want him to be reckless and come forward like he's done in his other ones. Christian Rodriguez, like he did in that one, right? I think that kind of fight would suit him, especially against Vince Morales. I really do. So I am going to go with Raul Rosas. I just can't bet on or pick a guy who's coming back, 2 months later after taking a pretty solid beating. His face was battered, mauled. So I'm going with Raul here. My boy, I think me and him are the same age, so move on to the next one. Kelvin Gastelum, Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer's my guy. I think he wins this fight. And I don't even know if it's, you just look at Kelvin Gastelum's picture, man. Like what are we doing? He's supposed to be at 170. Fights one fight at 170 in Sean Brady, and immediately misses weight the next fight, makes D-Rod fight at middleweight. I don't know what to expect from Kelvin Gastelum, man. I just don't know. I think he's the better striker here, and I will say that. I think Pyfer's definitely hits harder, and I think Pyfer's got the power to put him out. I know Gastelum's never been finished. I don't really care. I think that Pyfer's got the power to put him out. It's not like you haven't seen Gastelum hurt. We have seen him hurt. But I think it just comes down to Joe taking him down, and I really do. Kelvin Gastelum, not the best takedown defense. He's obviously got that wrestling background, but I just don't know. This is a guy who was supposed to be making middleweight or welterweight, and he's taking on a huge, huge middleweight. Joe Pyfer is massive, and Joe Pyfer's explosive, and he's strong as shit with a very, very good submission game. I think that Joe Pyfer takes the easy way in this fight and just takes Kelvin down and submits him. Joe Pyfer's a big favorite, obviously, and I think it's warranted. I think that he does what he does. He's going to come out here and just, I'm sorry, kind of like he did, I want to say in the Abdul Razak Al Hassan fight where he was in front of Abdul Razak Al Hassan and took him down, 3 times in that fight. And Abdul Razak is a big old dude. Joe Pyfer was picking him up and slamming him all over the mat. Joe Pyfer is big, he's strong and explosive and dynamic with the wrestling. I don't see him having issues taking Kelvin down, to be honest with you. If he's able to take Abdul Razak Al Hassan down like that, throwing him around the octagon and wrapping him up in an arm triangle, I think he does the same exact thing to Kelvin Gastelum, just like his teammate did, Sean Brady. I like Joe Pyfer by submission here. I just don't know what Kelvin Gastelum, what kind of Kelvin Gastelum shape he's going to come in, If he's going to look like this, man, after trying to be at 170, moving back up, fighting a big old dude who's strong, young, explosive, I think that Pyfer, he can strike with him, but I think that Kelvin's pressure is very good, and his athleticism and his footwork and movement is tricky. I think that Joe Pyfer should just take him down, and I think that's what he's going to do. So I'll go by Joe Pyfer by a submission, and we'll move on to the next one. Manuel Torres versus Drew Dober. I've seen this line be up, be down. It's gone, back and forth for a while now. So Manuel opened, I can't believe it. Wait, what did he open at? Plus 105? Okay. But I like Dober here, man. I can't lie. I think that Dober kind of thrives in these kind of matchups. Manuel Torres, he's young, explosive, dynamic, and he's still to this day has one of my favorite knockouts ever, the one over Nicholas Mata where he dropped that elbow on him. Just disgusting. One of my favorites for sure. I absolutely love that KO. Last time out, tough fight versus Ignacio Bahamondes, but this is a different matchup. Drew Dober is going to be willing to stand in front of you, right? In Drew Dober, he's durable. He, hits hard. He's balanced. He's got good cardio. He's got good endurance. And I think that's where this fight changes. And it's not just the cardio and endurance. It's the pressure of Drew Dober. When he's in front of these guys like, Rafael Alves or a Matt Frivola where he did get caught kind of and got knocked out, he's pressuring these dudes on the fence. And Manuel Torres is not going to want to be there. He's not going to want to be on the fence because he wants to, land out in the open and take your head off. In Drew Dober, it's going to be a challenge for him early on in this fight. But if he's able to survive, man, if he starts pushing the pressure, pushing the pace on Manuel Torres, backing him up on the fence and going to the body, really what he did against Rafael Alves, that steady kind of pressure, cutting the cage off, I think he wins this fight pretty easily, and I think he finishes Manuel Torres. It's all going to be about if he gets out of that first round or first 2 or 3 minutes. But once he starts getting that pressure, that's when he'll take this fight over. And that's probably when I'm going to drop a bomb of a live bet on him as well. But yeah, make sure y'all tune in on a Saturday. Drew Dober's my pick. And I want to say by finish. But yeah, move on to the main event. Brandon Moreno versus Steven Erceg. Steven Erceg, big underdog here. And I don't know if I agree with that. And I think that this is a fight I'm automatically staying away from unless it's maybe a live bet or an under or whatever it is. But picking a money line or picking a fighter here, betting on one is going to be hard for me, especially because of the number. Now, if I thought Steven Erceg was going to win, then I would definitely put plus whatever it is. What is it? Plus 195 on him for sure. But I just don't know if he's going to win. I kind of feel like the line should be 150 on Brandon Moreno or maybe 165 on Brandon Moreno. I don't know if it's warranted to be 230, and I think it's because the recency bias a little bit. He looked good against Albazi, but Albazi wasn't doing anything, Sorry, I'm a little bit sick. But Albazi he wasn't doing anything. He wasn't pushing the pace. He wasn't throwing a lot of shots. But my main problem with betting on this fight is that you're going to see a different approach pretty much every time from Brandon Moreno. He's never the same fighter, I feel like. And I can just tell by watching his last 3 fights. Amir Albazi comes out there kind of standing in the pocket, head really low, high guard, bopping up and down, letting go of the jab. And then against Brandon Royval, he's all over the place, moving around, and footwork. And then against, Kai Kara France, he's doing a little bit different stuff. It's just, he's never really the same kind of fighter, and I don't know what it is about him. I don't like Brandon Moreno, by the way. I think he makes these faces in the octagon. They just piss me off, and I hope that Erceg knocks him out. But what ultimately makes me pick Brandon Moreno, it's going to be the diversity in the striking, okay? I think that Brandon Moreno, he's a guy who works the legs, he works the body, he works the head. He's going to have the reach advantage here. And I think that Brandon Moreno is also going to be able to throw more volume than Steve Erceg. It's weird. It's going to be weird how Brandon Moreno approaches this fight. Because I don't know how necessarily he's going to approach Erceg, because Erceg, he likes to be on the front foot, and Erceg's a sniper, man. He'll hop out of range, wait for you to overextend and then pop back with that right, and he's good at it, man. He's very precise. He's accurate. He has some issues when he stays in the pocket too long. He sometimes gets cracked. And the last fight out, he got caught. I don't even know. I kind of feel like I don't want to say it was fluky because it really wasn't, but it kind of was. It was a little bit fluky. I don't like that, he kind of threw that combo and just snuck it through the guard. Erceg saw it too, and he thought he was going to block it. A little bit fluky. But Erceg, I think that he's just going to, have the shot to knock Brandon Moreno out or hurt him. But I just feel like overall, Moreno's just a little bit more balanced. He's got more veteran experience. He's got more 5-round experience. At elevation, I think that Brandon Moreno's cardio could be a little bit better. I think when you look at the grappling side of things, I think that both guys are very good grapplers. I kind of want to just say it evens each other out, or they even each other out when it comes to grappling. I feel like if there is an exchange, one guy won't be able to get the better of the guy for long moments. You know, I like Erceg's game, but I think he lacks a little bit of volume, and I think Moreno's a little bit better than him. And to me, I feel like Erceg's a little bit one-dimensional with the boxing. He doesn't kick all that often. I think that he needs to low kick a little bit against Brandon Moreno. And Moreno's a guy who can mix up all the shots. I don't think Erceg goes to the body enough. And he's kind of just looking for that one-shot KO. A little bit is how I feel. And I don't think Moreno's going to give it to him. Brandon Moreno's very defensively sound, and when I watch him, I notice that. There are some tools that Erceg is able to use against that. Uppercuts, right? Brandon Moreno's he's very down here. He's elbows are over here, but he's very low in his stance. Front kicks up the middle could be good for Erceg. Knees, of course. I just don't think he's going to be able to find it. And he's able. I think he might be able to find a KO. I think that's his best shot at winning here, or dropping Moreno 1 or 2 times maybe. But Moreno, he's a tough dude. He recovers pretty well. I think he works the volume here. All kind of parts of the body of Erceg. I don't know if I necessarily like the number. I'm going to go with Brandon Moreno here. I'm going to go 49-46 decision or 48-47. I think that Erceg could steal the second round or the third round or steal the first and the second. I think towards the later end of the fight, Moreno's the guy who's able to make reads and kind of break Steven Erceg down a little bit. I think that this fight does hit a decision unless Erceg's able to finish him. But I think we're in for a good fight here. Pretty good fight night. That's going to wrap it up for me. Hope y'all boys enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.